Is a project that has close to no ecosystem worth $4 billion? I know that this statement already gets the Caspians, the Kaspa community members, riled up. But hey, bear with me, this is just one of the few questions that we are going to address in this video. For a long time, I've been hearing about Kaspa. Kaspa here, Kaspa there, Kaspa is an eye-opener, but I never really engaged with this topic. So it was more than about time that I looked into this. My goal here is to give you some thought inputs and data to justify your investment decisions. I don't have any stake in Kaspa myself. I purely want to understand what Kaspa is about and see if it is worth my money. I'm basically coming in with fresh eyes, completely unbiased. Generally, I'm also a bit more of a skeptic who needs a bit more convincing before investing, and that often helps me, not always, avoid bad investment decisions. So how did I approach this? Let's clarify what I knew before the research. 1, I knew Kaspa is a proof of work layer 1. 2, I knew that there was a strong community and that there was a lot of hype around Kaspa. I saw many YouTube videos talking about Kaspa. I saw many tweets. Kaspa was also often listed in those top altcoin videos on social media, etc. 3, I knew that Kaspa had a fair launch, meaning that there was no pre-sale, no private allocation or early investor advantage, and the tokens were available for mining at the same time, so no pre-mining. That's basically it. Now, before I started digging into my research, I just brain dumped a few questions that came to my mind that will essentially help guide myself. I'm not going to read everything, so pause the video if you like, but most of it will be also covered throughout this video. Okay, so what is Kaspa? Kaspa is a layer 1 crypto built to be what Bitcoin was originally meant to be. True digital cash. Think of it as Bitcoin's faster, more agile cousin. Bitcoin evolved more into something like digital gold, a secure store of value, whereas Kaspa wants to be digital silver, something you'd actually use for day-to-day transactions. And the best part is it aims to be instant, secure, all while staying decentralized and community-driven. Kaspa's vision is to create a network that's as fast and responsive as possible, making it a real option for peer-to-peer transactions without the frustrating wait times or high fees. And that's Bitcoin's whole problem. It's secure, but not scalable in its current state. Transactions take forever, and you just couldn't use it as a daily payment system.
Whoa, hold up there, Smart. It looks like it's gonna be another 27 minutes before this transaction clears.
What? And Kaspa is all about creating a secure, fair, and accessible digital cash system, one that can truly keep up with our modern world. Now, Kaspa is not your typical layer 1, and this is what really confused me a lot. And I think many people out there still don't get this right, because you hear layer 1 and you think of Ethereum, Solana, Near, Avalanche, Sui, general purpose layer 1s. But Kaspa, it aims to be digital cash. And while it is also creating an ecosystem, its aim is to be used as a currency and for transactions. Keep that in mind. Similarly to Bitcoin, Kaspa has a maximum supply, but it's significantly higher with 28.7 billion of maximum supply. It also has a halving schedule, although with Kaspa it is every year and not every 4 years like with Bitcoin. And if we take a look at the emission schedule, we can already see that the aggressive output is slowing down, and we currently are here. Now let's get into the tech, because this is what most people consider to be the main USP, unique selling point. I don't want to get too deep into technical details here, but it is important to understand the value proposition. First of all, Kaspa uses the proof of work consensus mechanism over proof of stake, which is used by probably most of the projects out there nowadays. The reason for that is that proof of stake has some issues in regards to security, centralization, and governance. And proof of work, however, is well battle tested and proven to be secure, resilient, and censorship resistant. And with its block DAG structure, Kaspa aims to address the scalability issues that are normally associated with proof of work. Okay, what does block DAG mean? Well, Kaspa is not your traditional blockchain. It's more like a block net. A blockchain is linear, literally a chain of blocks. Proof of work chains require each block to be added sequentially, which limits speed. The DAG of block DAG stands for directed acyclic graph. Within this DAG, there are multiple streams of work happening at the same time, creating multiple blocks that can all reference each other and allows Kaspa to achieve sub-second block times. This is what enables a high transaction throughput and high scalability. Kaspa uses a more advanced version of this block DAG called Ghost DAG, which makes it even more secure and more efficient. Who is behind Kaspa? Let's talk quickly about some of the people behind this project. The founder of Kaspa, Jonathan Sompolinski, was one of the researchers behind the Ghost DAG protocol, and this guy is basically a genius who was even referenced by Vitalik Buterin, creator of Ethereum, in the Ethereum white paper. Generally speaking, there are quite a few geniuses looking at the contributor page. Shai Wyborski, a researcher and core contributor who was also involved with the Ghost DAG white paper. He's also apparently highly valued and appreciated in the community. The very first meme coin of Kaspa is actually named Nacho after Shai's cat. Say no more. Then we have Michael Sutton, the most active dev on Kaspa, Ori Newman, Ilichai Turkel, and more devs. And here we have people outside of engineering, Luke Donchia, very prominent in the community on Discord and on X. One thing to keep in mind when looking at these people, you have to remember that there is no traditional company behind Kaspa. Yes, there is a Kaspa ecosystem foundation, but they are there to work with the community and to foster the development, adoption, and sustainability of the Kaspa ecosystem. They are not in charge of Kaspa. So you don't have a VC, venture capital backed company behind this project. These people happen to be the main drivers of Kaspa who set this whole thing into motion, but are technically also just part of the community. Yes, they have more knowledge and more involvement and are driving key initiatives, but Kaspa is open source. It is very similar to Bitcoin's path overall. So to recap the unique selling points of Kaspa. You have a project that aims to be what Bitcoin was supposed to be, digital cash. It is truly open source, decentralized, a community-driven project that was developed by some of the smartest minds of the space. And you have the best and fastest proof-of-work powered transaction layer that solves the whole blockchain trilemma of scalability, security, decentralization. I'm not going to go into this topic right now, but check it out, blockchain trilemma. What I like to do as part of my evaluation and research is look at on-chain data. Let's look at where Kaspa stands right now. Okay, this will not be your typical data overview. Usually we would look at TVL, total value locked, app usage, etc. to evaluate the adoption of Kaspa and to compare it with other layer ones. But that will not give you the full picture here. Again, the purpose of Kaspa is to become cash. Therefore, the main prio is security and fast transactions, not necessarily right now to build out an ecosystem like Solana, etc. It will still come, but don't expect a thriving ecosystem anytime soon. That means there are no such things as dApps.
Are you kidding me?
And this came as a shock to me when I was looking at Kaspa from a classic layer 1 angle. And that's also what triggered the question, how can this project be worth 3 to 4 billion with no ecosystem? And I think that this is what most people get wrong about Kaspa. I watched this video over here from Invest Answers from last year comparing Kaspa to Sui. And I generally always love his data-driven approach, and at first it all made sense what he was saying, especially when you look at it from a general L1 perspective.
How come a chain that really does nothing is bigger than all of these chains that do a lot of stuff?
But when I understood that you can't compare Kaspa to other layer ones like this, I understood that you needed to approach it differently. And honestly, in hindsight, I'm not surprised that comments were turned off on this video. I'm pretty sure Caspians gave him a lot of shit for that. So you need to see it from the digital currency perspective. At least that's how I understand it now. But how do we evaluate further? What data can we look at? Well, let's look at active addresses, transaction volume, transactions per second, and developer activity. Daily active addresses. Since mid-September, we see the trend going upwards. That's good, going from about 20K to 50K at the moment. Generally, mid-September was a big milestone for Kaspa. They introduced the support for KRC20 tokens, which led to a substantial increase in network activity. We also see a massive spike in October because of the first utility project using the KRC20 token standard, KDAO, which we will talk about a bit later. A token standard basically enables developers to issue tokens that can represent different things in the ecosystem, such as cryptocurrencies, loyalty points, voting rights, ensuring interoperability and reliability across applications on the Kaspa network, similarly to ERC20. You might have heard of that on Ethereum. So generally a positive trend here in daily active addresses. Transactions. Looks very similar. We also see the drastic change since mid-September, fluctuating numbers between 150,000 and multiple million transactions a day. But again, I want to bring your attention to this spike on the 22nd of October. We see a massive 15.8 million transactions in a single day. That demonstrates Kaspa's capability to handle high throughput, reaching up to 230, 300 real transactions per second, which is remarkable for a proof of work blockchain. And it can keep up with Solana and Ethereum and the likes. Now, before some of you scream about transactions per second, and Solana has 65,000 transactions per second, comparing transactions per second, TPS, across different layer 1 blockchains is a bit misleading, mainly because different chains measure TPS differently and the underlying mechanisms for transaction confirmation, consensus, and finality vary widely. So we're not going to compare TPS here. I'll still give you some idea about the speed of transactions. Block per second, right now it can handle 1 block per second. There are some developments that will increase this number to 10 very soon. The testnet is already on 10 blocks per second. Transactions per second, every block has around 200 to 400 transactions. The number that I found varies, but I think 300 is what I found mostly. So if the block per second, BPS, increase to 10, we get also 10x more transactions. There are even reports mentioning Kaspa handled 1,000 to 1,100 TPS during those high peak times that we talked about. So imagine how it looks like with 10x more blocks. Finality time, which basically means that once a transaction is included in a block, it is considered final and irreversible. That is around 10 seconds. Now, just looking from a proof of work blockchain perspective, this is the fastest out there. Bitcoin handles around 7 transactions per second. Ethereum, before the 2.0 upgrade, was at around 15 to 30 transactions per second. So things are looking quite good here. One thing I don't like though is the developer activity. We have 27 people who contributed to the Rust Kaspa project on GitHub, with around 5 to 6 somewhat active developers. Additionally, we have a total of 103 commits this year alone. That's 2.3 contributions per week. That's nothing. I mean, what am I not seeing here? Yes, there might be work somewhere else going on, but if I compare this to Sui, for example, they had 157 commits just in the last week of October alone. I mean, how will ever anything get done here? Now, I'm biased. I worked at a hypergrowth tech startup as a director of engineering, leading 50 people, and I'm used to seeing things move fast. We live in a tech world. The crypto space is no exception. Things move very fast. After that, I decided to look into the roadmap. We have an upgrade coming to the GoStack protocol called Dagnite, which in short makes Kaspa more efficient and more secure. The Crescendo hard fork, which among other things will increase the block rate of the network from 1 to 10 blocks per second, as we mentioned earlier. And the implementation of smart contracts, which will enable the creation of dApps. Dagnite was announced 2 years ago in 2022 and is in development. The 10 blocks per second increase has been a topic since beginning of 2022. Discussions around smart contracts started around mid-2023, more concretely beginning of 2024. Folks, that is too long of a development time if you ask me. Now, you might argue that this is open source and that things work differently here and perhaps you need more patience, etc. Yes, true. The way Kaspa also works is that ideas can be submitted and are subject to voting and funding of the community. This all takes a considerable amount of time. You don't have the luxury of a VC-backed company with resources to decide and move fast. It all has its pros and cons, but the more time passes, the more projects appear, the more other projects progress. Don't get me wrong, there are still many things in development around Kaspa, but still, development speed is certainly a worry of mine. Tokenomics. If you want a thorough deep dive into this topic, I suggest that you take a look at this video from Coinsider. It's amazing, it covers everything in detail. It's about a year old, but still very relevant. Overall, the tokenomics are looking pretty good. 87% of the supply is already circulating. Kaspa was a fair launch, no VCs, no investors, no pre-mining, super good. One thing I will point out though is the holder distribution. 90% of Kaspa's holders have more than 100,000 tokens. That's more than $11,000 depending on when you watch this video. They might not be VCs, but they still hold huge bags which can pose risks. And who knows if those are all strong believers, miners, or people just waiting for the price to pump. So be aware. Also, It is fairly normal to have high concentration in younger projects. Other projects show similar distributions. In general though, Kaspa's tokenomics are very competitive, especially if you compare this to other layer ones who have seen significant token unlocks over the past year. One thing we need to talk about and bring to attention when it comes to Kaspa is the community. Purely from gut feeling, Kaspa is on a very similar level as, for instance, the XRP army or Cardano followers. Now, don't feel offended. What I mean by that is that they are super active, near religious, and defensive at times. Now, when we look at the current community scorings on different platforms, that is not necessarily the case. But at the end of 2023, for example, the community went apeshit.
So you see, out of 4,400 coins, Kaspa is ranked number 14 in social volume.
Even things might have cooled off for the moment, I'm pretty sure you can't count them out, and they'll be back preaching about Kaspa in no time. Something I've noticed, the community splits itself in two. The techies who believe in Kaspa's unique position to disrupt crypto and the financial world through technology, very similar to Bitcoin's early days. On the other side, you have the speculators, the ones filled with hopium. They believe in Kaspa and its tech, but their main motivation is to pump the price and to see gains. I joined the Kaspa Discord, and based on some of the discussions I read, that's the impression that I had. The people who scream for tier 1 listings and KOLs to gain traction, and the ones who are patient and counter-arguing that there is no need for tier 1 listings and KOLs, etc. Why is this relevant? Why am I mentioning this? Well, I think it shows me how many people still don't understand Kaspa, and these kind of discussions for me are counterproductive to the progress of Kaspa, especially as a purely community-driven project. These kind of discussions distract from what is really needed to bring Kaspa forward. Nevertheless, it's impressive what the community has done all by themselves so far. There are regular events, meetups, etc., crowdfunding important initiatives like the DAG Night upgrade, marketing strategies, and more. What I'm really concerned about is the speed of development, as I mentioned earlier. A community-driven approach takes up a lot of time for everything: development, voting, discussions, gathering funding, etc. Now, this may be the most authentic approach out there, but I'm not sure how much time there is for Kaspa given how fast things move in crypto. And if you're saying it worked with Bitcoin, you can't really compare it. Bitcoin was the very first crypto. They had time to form with no real competition for years. Now you have thousands of cryptocurrencies competing with each other. I honestly hope the community can pull this off and drive the project to success with patience, determination, and focus. But we'll have to see if it can become the major cryptocurrency people are really hoping for. Price. Okay, this one is for the speculators out there. So just to clarify how I approach this is going to be a bull market 2025 prediction. I expect the bull run to peak around summer of next year, summer of 2025, somewhere between July and September, based on the past cycles. Keep in mind, I'm not talking about long-term price developments here. That is just too far off, and any price would be just clickbaiting. But I do want to approach this as realistic as possible, and for that I will use market dominance to have potential price outlooks. By the time of the recording, Kaspa's market dominance is 0.151%. Market dominance is the percentage share of a cryptocurrency's market cap compared to the total cryptocurrency market cap. So all the cryptos all together and what they are valued. The way you calculate this is to take Kaspa's current market cap and divide it by the total market cap and multiply this by times 100. We're currently sitting at around a 2.7, 2.8 total market cap, and many people are predicting a 7 to 10 trillion total market cap for crypto. Personally, I also think we could hit 10 trillion, but again, this is a more optimistic outlook. And I have two scenarios for this. Scenario one, and this is the more realistic scenario if you ask me, and my assumption is the Kaspa bull market is driven purely by the community and speculation. Adoption is still lacking and the ecosystem is still in a very early stage, and I don't expect too much game-changing things to happen on Kaspa, like partnerships, a real use case, or dApp to push adoption further. Therefore, I could see market dominance reach 0.3 to 0.5%, and this would mean Kaspa would reach something between 30 and 50 billion in market cap, which translates to $1.13 to $1.88 per Kaspa token. This also considers that there will be more circulating tokens next summer, so that would be around 6x to 10x from where we are now. Given the hype of a strong Kaspa community, where Kaspa stands today, and which developments could take place until next summer, I think this is what could happen. Now, if for some reason Kaspa does gain traction, Dagnite rolls out, maybe smart contract functionality is released, and we have a first dApp that drives momentum, maybe there is a new partnership that can drive payment adoption, multiple tier 1 exchange listings, then we could possibly see scenario 2. We reach up to 0.75% market dominance. Kaspa's price tag, $2.83. That's 17x from where we stand right now. But again, there are really some milestones that need to happen to make this scenario even considerable. In general, no one can predict what will happen, keep that in mind, but if I wanted to predict the price, this is how I would approach it. And if anyone gives you any other price tags, they are just baiting you with either complete BS or a dream where Kaspa becomes a major payment system in 10 to 15 years by now. But who knows? Conclusion. Before I start wrapping things up, if you liked this video and it helped you get a clearer picture on Kaspa, do me a favor and make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. It would really help the channel. It would ensure that I can do more of these kind of videos for you in the future. Thank you so much. Is Kaspa's 4 billion market cap justified? Well, it may seem insanely high if you compare it to other layer ones, and I get why people would say that Kaspa is overvalued. And for a long time during this research, I thought that 4 billion is complete bullshit.
Are you kidding me?
There is just a lack of justification in its current state for this market cap. I mean, a company like Peloton Interactive that makes 3 billion in revenue is worth less than Kaspa. I know, crypto works different, but still, let's try to stay on Earth for a second. But I think you need to compare Kaspa more with Bitcoin's path. And I'm not saying to compare the price and the price potential of Bitcoin. I'm talking about the path that it is taking. I think investors are pricing in the future potential of Kaspa, anticipating a similar trajectory to Bitcoin's early development. If you were to think that Kaspa will achieve its goal of becoming digital silver and the daily payment system, and people truly believe it, then I can absolutely see how Kaspa arrived at a $4 billion market cap. Am I buying Kaspa? Well, I'm not sure yet. Probably just a small bag. Personally, I think there are probably other projects with a higher upside, more advanced, more adopted in this moment than Kaspa. Sure, there's maybe a 5 to 10x potential during the bull run, but given where it stands now in its development, I think there are better bets for 2025. But thinking more long term, 5 years, 10 years, I don't know. I think a small bag that you can afford to lose could be worth it. If Kaspa does get traction and more people believe in its payment system potential, you don't want to miss out, right? I'm pretty sure we all remember Da Vinci Jeremy's appeal about Bitcoin.
I suggest you take $1 frickin' $1, buy some Bitcoins, put it in a goddamn wallet, put it fucking away.
This is all no financial advice. I'm just sharing my opinions, my views, and what I would do. What are Kaspa's challenges and risks? What do I think Kaspa needs to do to achieve its goals? In terms of risks, I see getting outpaced by the crypto space, lack of developers driving Kaspa forward, new innovations in the space, then distraction through initiatives that don't focus on its vision, lack of adoption. Innovation alone doesn't guarantee adoption. Kaspa's technology might be superior in terms of speed, scalability, or security, but adoption rates driven by ease of use, community size, or broader ecosystem support like wallets, exchanges, etc. might be slower without the backing of VC funds that could potentially drive rapid expansion or integration. What would help Kaspa, in my opinion? Stronger development activity. Hopefully I'm missing something here, but if not, I think development speed needs to ramp up. It takes too long to get things through the door. I do see quite some activity in the development channel on Discord, but there is a lack of movement on GitHub. The development efforts are probably not on the core libraries right now, but somewhere else. But overall, I think I'm not wrong with my observation that things are slow. The good thing on this front though is that Kaspa is written in Rust. For developers, quite attractive. So it might be more a matter of incentives or intrinsic motivation. Focus, concentrate on initiatives that drive adoption. Example, through partnerships with payment providers, payment infrastructure, more things like the ledger integration. dApps, DeFi, etc. are all secondary if you ask me. Then preaching about its value proposition as digital silver and not the classic L1, so people start perceiving Kaspa correctly. All just an opinion, but if I see more of those kind of things, I might consider buying a bigger bag in the future. And then again, there are some things that were mentioned that could have further positive impact. Some of the things are very speculative, but I will list it here on the screen again, so pause it if you want to read it. That's it with our honest review of Kaspa. Will we be paying Kaz in the near future? Also, what projects would you like to see me dig into next? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to On-Chain Journal. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.